The file was never supposed to be found. It had been misfiled, relabeled, and pushed behind 3 years of unrelated paperwork in a storage room that nobody visited anymore. The people who put it there knew exactly what they were doing. They had counted on time doing the rest of the work for them. What they hadn't counted on was her. Diane Mercer had worked as an administrative clerk at Callaway Regional Hospital for 11 years. She was not a doctor. She was not a manager. She answered phones, filed paperwork, processed insurance forms, and kept the back office running with a quiet efficiency that most people took for granted. She was the kind of person, said her colleague Rita, who noticed when something was off. Not loudly, just quietly noticed. And then she did something about it. She was 53 years old, recently widowed, and raising a teenage grandson named Theo after her daughter's passing 2 years earlier. She did not have savings that could survive a job loss. She had no connections in high places, no union, no safety net. What she had was a habit, one she had carried since her very first week on the job, of making sure every document that passed through her hands ended up exactly where it was supposed to be. That habit would cost her nearly everything, and it would save someone else far more. The man whose life hung in the balance was named Gerald Holt. He was 58 years old. 3 years earlier, he had undergone what was described as a routine cardiac procedure at Callaway Regional. The procedure had not gone as planned. Gerald suffered a severe complication that left him with permanent nerve damage in his left arm. He could no longer work his trade as an electrician. Gerald filed a malpractice suit. The hospital's legal team responded that the complication was entirely unforeseeable, that all proper protocols had been followed. The case dragged on for 2.5 years. Gerald was running out of time, out of money, and very nearly out of hope. Diane had nothing to do with Gerald Holt's case. She had never met him. That Thursday afternoon, reorganizing the hospital's physical archive room, she noticed a manila folder wedged behind a filing cabinet. Pushed so far back it had gathered a thin layer of dust. The label had been partially covered with correction tape, but beneath it, you could still make out the original. Holt, G. Pre-op assessment, cardiac unit, 2021. She opened it. What she found was a preoperative risk assessment, signed, dated, documenting elevated risk indicators that required specialist consultation before surgery could proceed. That consultation had never happened. Diane stood in that storage room for a long time. She understood what she was looking at. She also understood what would happen if she brought it forward. She had a grandson at home who depended on her. She had a mortgage. She had no guarantee that anyone would believe a clerk over a hospital administration. She put the folder back. She went home. She didn't sleep. Not that night. Not the next. Not the night after that. On the fourth morning, Diane got up, made Theo his breakfast, watched him leave for school, and sat at her kitchen table with a cup of coffee she didn't drink. She thought about Gerald Holt, a man she had never met, waiting for a justice that kept being denied because a piece of paper was hidden behind a filing cabinet. She picked up her bag and drove to work. That morning, she walked into the office of the patient advocate, Carol Sims, and placed the folder on her desk. "I found this in the archive room," Diane said. "I think someone needs to see it." Carol read every page. She looked up. "Do you understand what this means?" "I understand exactly what it means," Diane said. "That's why I'm here." Carol contacted the state medical board that same afternoon. Within 48 hours, an independent investigator had been assigned. The folder was photographed, cataloged, and formally entered into evidence. Forensic document analysts confirmed that the correction tape had been applied after the original filing, deliberately, not by accident. The folder had not been lost. It had been hidden. 2 senior hospital administrators were placed on immediate administrative leave. The hospital's legal team withdrew their prior statements claiming the preoperative records did not exist. Gerald Holt's attorney received a call he later described as one of the most significant moments of his career. He read through the assessment and said, "This changes everything." The malpractice case was settled within 4 months. Gerald's attorney confirmed publicly that his client had received a settlement sufficient to cover his medical expenses, his lost income, and his long-term care needs. Gerald spoke briefly to a local reporter outside the courthouse. He didn't say much. He said, "I just want people to know that somebody did the right thing. Somebody they didn't expect." Diane Mercer was quietly let go 2 months after she came forward. But a labor attorney took her case without charge. Within 6 months, she was fully reinstated, with back pay, a written apology, and a newly created role as document integrity coordinator. She framed the reinstatement letter and hung it in her kitchen. One morning, Theo saw it and asked what it was. "It's a reminder," she said, "that doing the right thing is always worth it, even when it costs you something." The two administrators responsible faced formal disciplinary proceedings. One lost his license. The other resigned, but the record followed him regardless. The folder that had been hidden for 3 years now sat in the official record, properly labeled, exactly where it had always belonged. Justice is not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet folder placed on a desk on a Thursday morning.